your fair share? Is this a good idea and will it work? This is a question we're going to answer today. Now, in another video, I covered equality and equity and why these ideas and terms get recycled every 4 years during election year. And I'll go ahead and put that link down below. So, what does pay your fair share mean? According to the current administration, they believe the wealthy should pay their fair share. But what does fair mean? Because fair can mean something different depending on who you talk to. So far, no one has been able to define what is considered to be fair. So that alone should raise a red flag. But moving on, we are reminded in Proverbs 14:12, there is a way that seems right, but in the end leads to death. So, although something or an idea may sound good at first glance, it does not mean it's a good idea, and it does not mean it's going to work. Which is why on this channel, we analyze everything through the scriptures. Why? Because any time we deviate from the scriptures, we end up on a dead end street or shipwrecked. To dissect, pay your fair share, we're going to go to Matthew 25:14 through the 30, which is the parable of the talents. In this scripture, we read, there's a man that's going to go on a journey, and he calls onto his servants because he wants to entrust them with his property. To the one servant, he gives him 5 talents. To another one, he gives him 2. And then to the third servant, he gives them 1. So right off the bat, you notice everybody gets a different amount. It is not equally distributed. The second thing you'll notice is he does not tell them what to do with it. So keep that in mind. Then the man goes off on his journey. And the servant that received the 5 talents, he goes and multiplies it and gets 5 more talents. So he takes the 5 that was given to him, multiplies it for a total of 10. The second servant that has the 2 talents, he goes on and he does the same thing. He multiplies it for a total of 2. And then the one servant that received the 1 talent, he decides to take it and dig it into the ground or hide it. And after a while, after a long time, the master of the servants, he returns to settle the accounts. So the one servant with the 5 talents, he comes forward and he tells the master, you gave me 5 talents and I made 5 more. The master replies to him and says, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little, and I will set you over much. And then the second servant comes forward and he tells him, Master, you delivered me 2 talents, and here I have made 2 more. And the master responds to him and says, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little, and I will set you over much. Then the third servant comes forward and he tells the master, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. So, because he was afraid, he decided he wasn't going to do anything with what was given to him. And so the master responds to him and says, You wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So he told him, You should have at least taken what I gave you and returned it to me with interest. So, how does the master handle the situation? He takes the talent from him and he gives it to the one that was given the 5 talents and multiplies it for a total of 10. Then the scripture goes on to say, To everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. So, what are the some of the key takeaways from this scripture? One of the takeaways is it does not matter what you have or what you start off with. What matters is what you do with it. The second takeaway is you don't penalize the ones that multiply what they have or what was given to them. You actually reward them by giving them more. In fact, those that choose to do nothing with what has been given to them or what they have, you take from them and you give it to the producers and the multipliers, because they're going to take it and they're going to produce and they're going to multiply more from it. It also lets us know that outcomes are a choice. You can choose to multiply what you have or what is given to you, and you can sit and do nothing with it. Either way, it's a choice. You determine the outcome based on what you decide to do. Now, I know we live in a time where they want you to believe that that's not true. They want you to believe that you're a victim, even though that's a popular belief nowadays. That's actually not true. It is you that determine the outcome. You decide what the outcome is. And it does not matter what you start off with. And in fact, scriptures let us know it is God that gives us the ability to produce and create wealth. So that scripture debunks the victimhood mentality that gets peddled in today's society. Now, let's take a look at today's producers and multipliers. There is the belief that millionaires and billionaires are born with a silver spoon. and that they were handed their wealth, that they didn't have to work for it. It came easy for them. According to the National Study of Millionaires by Dave Ramsey, 79% of millionaires are self made, 21% received an inheritance, and of the 21%, 3% inherited 1 million or less. So the majority of the millionaires today took what they had and they multiplied it to make their millions. It was not handed to them like society wants you to believe. And in the process of them becoming millionaires and billionaires, they produce opportunities. They're building companies that in turn create jobs, jobs within their companies, jobs as assistants to help them continue to multiply and produce. Now, the government does not produce or create anything. All they can do is take from one and redistribute it however they see fit. Not however you see fit, however they see fit. And under this pay your fair share idea, they will take from the producers and the multipliers, but they're not giving that money to you. They're taking it and putting it into the government system to redistribute it however they see fit. So they're punishing the producers and the multipliers. Now, as a producer and a multiplier, the more you make, the more the government wants to take under this idea. So there is no incentive to produce more. So what do they end up doing? They end up cutting back or pulling back, which in turn cuts back on opportunities and jobs for the private sector. So it's not only the producers and the multipliers that are getting penalized, but you also are getting penalized. The only ones that are benefiting from this arrangement, this deal, are the ones that are pushing for this idea, which this idea gets brought up a lot by the Democrats. This is one of their core beliefs. Now, in order to make this sound like a good idea, they have to make it seem like the producers and the multipliers, they're greedy and they're the bad guys. And they are the heroes that are going to come in and make things right with everybody else. When the truth is, you want money in the hands of the millionaires and the billionaires. You want to give them tax cuts because it motivates them to produce more opportunities, more jobs. So when you hear the current administration say the Republicans are for the wealthy because they want to give their millionaire buddies tax cuts, that's exactly what you want to happen. Because you reward the producers and the multipliers, you don't penalize them. By rewarding them, it benefits everybody else in the private sector. They are not the bad guys, they're actually your friends, your allies. And no, you're not a victim like the Democrats want you to think. Why? Because we all have the same opportunity to become producers. And as I stated earlier, the scriptures are very clear. It is God that gives us, every single one of us, the ability to produce wealth. However, the choice is yours. If we penalize the ones that choose to multiply what they have, we're penalizing everybody else. We're penalizing the working class, the working poor, the middle class. So pay your fair share. Is this a good idea? Absolutely not. The only ones that stand to benefit from this arrangement, from this idea, are the ones that are trying to implement it, which is why they're pushing for it. And if you really think about it, if they were not going to benefit from it, would they be pushing for it? No, they would not. Now, let's take a look at an example of why this does not work. The scripture tells us it does not work, but now let's take a look at a real life example. So you have Ken Griffin, which is the CEO and founder of Citadel. And I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, I apologize. He is stationed in Chicago along with his operations, his company, all in Chicago. And as a billionaire, he was paying, they state, anywhere from $200 million in taxes. Even as recent as October of this year, they're bringing up this millionaire surcharge again, where they continue to tax or put additional taxes on the billionaires and millionaires that reside in Illinois. So, what does Ken Griffin do? Well, he's got two options. He can continue to stay where he's at and continue to get penalized, or he can take his entire operation and go somewhere else, which is what he chose to do. He packed up his entire operation and moved to a different state. So now the city of Chicago lost out on the opportunities and the jobs that he was providing for them. So, this is a real life example of why this does not work, even if it seems like it's a good idea on the surface. Now, imagine if they were to take this idea and implement it across all the states. We would have these producers and these multipliers, millionaires and billionaires, instead of packing up and going to another state, they'll just pack up and go to another country. Not a good situation, not a way to grow your economy. So the next time you hear, pay your fair share, just know it is not in your best interest. The producers and the multipliers, which are the millionaires and the billionaires, are not the only ones that are going to get penalized by this idea. I want to thank you for tuning into the Glory Soapbox, where the truth speaks loud and clear. Now, if there's a topic you would like us to explore and analyze through a biblical perspective, drop us a line at theglorysoapbox@gmail.com. And I'll see you on the next one.